Here's a little GoFish. Questions for the author, Katherine Applegate. Your main character, Jackson, is a 5th grader whose family is living on the brink of homelessness. What made you decide to give Jackson an imaginary friend, and why a large cat? She said, although I don't recall ever having had an imaginary friend as a kid, these days, like all fiction writers, I have plenty. When you think about it, an imaginary friend is a lovely and wildly creative conceit, a wonderful way to navigate a complex world when you're a child. Imaginary friends are confidants, companions, scapegoats, and on call 24/7, sort of like the perfect husband. With Crenshaw, I wanted to explore what it would be like for a pragmatic, just the facts young man who have his old imaginary friend, a relic of his little kid days, suddenly return. How would he deal with it? Would he be embarrassed, annoyed, secretly delighted? I debated what form Crenshaw should take. After all, imaginary friends come in all shapes and sizes and species. But in the end, I knew he had to be a cat, precisely because it seemed so counterintuitive. Cats have a reputation for being aloof and narcissistic. I liked the idea of playing against type. Crenshaw's silly, fond of bubble baths and purple jelly beans, but most importantly, he loves Jackson with all his heart. Jackson has what seemed to be a close-knit family. His parents are concerned. He is ever watchful of his little sister. Yet the family is in near crisis and Jackson is dealing with so much stress. You could have given his family more obvious issues, such as alcoholism or divorce. Why did you depict them as you did? She said, Jackson's family is what policymakers would call working poor or food insecure. Jackson doesn't know those terms, and most children who are hungry in the U.S., 1 in 5 kids, don't either. They just know that they dread weekends, when school breakfasts and lunches aren't available, and summers, when it's even harder for their parents to keep adequate food in the house. Jackson's family is loving and hardworking, like so many poor families in the country. His parents have faced illness and job loss, but somehow they've managed to cobble together part-time, low-paying jobs to keep things going. I wanted to write a book for kids like Jackson, kids whose families are doing everything they can to get by, yet are still struggling. It's a huge problem in this country, one that doesn't get nearly enough attention, and one that kids are embarrassed to discuss. There is a scene involving Ritz crackers that tips its hat to librarians. Is there a real-life event that inspires this particular scene? She said, the inspiration for that scene came from a statistic that I found both moving and heartbreaking. Over a third of teachers buy food more than once a month for their students. Typically, they spend about $35 of their own money each month just trying to keep hungry kids fed. Crenshaw is very charming and may remind some adult readers of Harvey, the oversized rabbit in the famous Jimmy Stewart movie. Is that intentional? She said, oh man, have I loved that movie Harvey, and if you haven't seen it, head to Netflix, stat. I actually use a quote from Harvey as an epigraph for Crenshaw. And yes, Crenshaw and Harvey are large, very large, steroid scandal large, fuzzy animals. This is your first novel since winning the Newbery Medal. How does it feel to publish a new book? She said, I am filled with relief and excitement in equal measure. This book was truly a labor of love, a long labor. One of the best parts of winning the Newbery, and there are many, is that you had the opportunity to travel to lots of schools. During those visits, I met kids like Jackson. That was when I decided to write Crenshaw. And that's it.